For example 3, we're going to be multiplying this matrix by a scalar. Now, we have our matrix here, and the scalar we've been asked to multiply is this 3 that's out front. Multiplying by a scalar is actually really easy. All you have to do is just multiply everything in the matrix by the scalar. So, for example, if I multiply my 3 times this first term 2, 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times my next term, which is also 2, is going to be 6 again. And 3 times my next term, 4, is going to give me 12. And I'm just going to continue in that same pattern throughout the matrix. So I have 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 2 is 6. So this is our answer matrix that we get when we multiply our matrix by this scalar of 3. Now, for our last example, we're going to go ahead and multiply two matrices together. So let's say that I give you these two matrices here. Perhaps my first matrix looks like this. I have negative 1, 3, 4, negative 2, 5, and 0. And I'm going to multiply it by my second matrix, which looks like this. Negative 3, 2, negative 4, and 1. For example 4, I'm going to multiply these two matrices together. Now before I can do that, I have to make sure they can multiply together, because not every matrix can multiply with every other matrix. So to determine if I can multiply, I first need to notice that in my first matrix I have 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2 columns. So this is a 3 by 2 matrix. In my second matrix I have 1, 2 rows and 1, 2 columns. So this is a 2 by 2 matrix. In order to multiply my matrices together, I have to make sure that these two middle numbers match, which they do. In this case, they're both 2's. Because they're both 2's, I know that I can multiply, and my answer will be a 3 by 2 matrix, because those are the outside numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my answer matrix. And I know it's going to be 3 by 2, meaning there are 3 rows and 2 columns. So it's going to look something like this, with 3 rows and 2 columns. Now, when we multiply together, we multiply row by column. So I'm going to start to get my first spot. I multiply my first row by my first column. So I have negative 1 times negative 3 plus my second number 3 times negative 4. And that will be my first spot. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and multiply my row by my second column. So I have negative 1 times 2 plus my second number's 3 times 1. And there's my first row. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and find my second row. To do that, I'm going to do my second row times my first column. So I have 4 times negative 3 plus negative 2 times negative 4. Then, for my next spot, I will multiply this same second row by the second column. So I have 4 times 2 plus negative 2 times 1. Now that takes care of my second row. Now I'm ready to move on to my third row. So for my third row, I will multiply by the first column. I'll have 5 times negative 3 plus 0 times negative 4. Then, for my very last spot, I'm going to do my first row, or excuse me, my third row, times my second column. So I have 5 times 2 plus 0 times 1. Well, now that I have my answer matrix all set up, all I have to do now is go through and multiply it out. So if I multiply this answer matrix out, I have negative 1 times negative 3, which is positive 3, plus 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. In my next spot, I have negative 1 times 2, which is negative 1, plus, negative 2, plus 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, second row, I have 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12, plus negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. And in my second column, 4 times 2 is 8, plus negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. My third column, I have 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15, plus 0 times negative 4 is 0. And in my third row and second column, I have 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 0 times 1, which is 0. Last but not least, let's go ahead and just simplify this matrix down to get our final answer. So I have 3 plus negative 12, which is negative 9. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. Negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. 8 plus negative 2 is 6. Negative 15 plus 0 is negative 15. And 10 plus 0 is 10. And here is my final answer matrix. Now that you have these notes filled out, go ahead and try the assignment.